So we got a dog who's potentially going to, well, you can say it, y'all can say it, y'all give a shit. It can lead to pneumonia. I was going to put it off to tomorrow, but Barbie sent me a clip and I sent it to Dr. Rubin. Now, normally, as you know by now, I don't move unless nobody say move. I know enough. But when I sent it to Rubin, he says, Trevor, that's a little concerning. And he said you don't want it to basically turn into what I dealt with the other pup. And that's just aspiration pneumonia. Then you got to put it in the oxygen chamber. Then we got to double down with Clavamox. And then we got to give it Albon. And we already still got to stack some things just to clear it out. And I bought some stuff to prepare for tomorrow because tomorrow will be more of a journey. But the dog is fine for now. I didn't even get this indicator. I woke up and I wasn't even really asleep. And the pup that we had, which we call Bolo, he was hacking. I mean, it broke me into a sweat. And I didn't have anything. I didn't have the Albon, I didn't have the Clavamox, I didn't have any of the stuff that you need to deal with this particular problem. But we do now. And I'm glad I have enough. But anywho, I'm gonna give it some Albon, which will hold it through the night. And it'll fight some of the stuff, but if you hear crackling, do not forget, and this is just in my opinion, of course, this is my last Frenchie breeding ever. I don't want to deal with the dogs. This is a man-made dog. Even this particular problem, this dog, these pups wouldn't survive on their own, and she couldn't have them. She couldn't have the pups if they had to survive. We was in a World War Z, and this dog got pregnant. We'd have to go see a witch doctor. She couldn't have the pups, and the pups wouldn't survive without a C-section, and that's a whole nother process. So I repeat, I don't want to deal with dogs who can't survive personally without man putting his hands on the dog and really getting involved. Now, mind you, these are gorgeous pups. I think they'll all be healthy. Clearly, some of them, I mean, they're fighting a good fight. But if you hear crackling, you definitely want to be a little concerned, to say the least. Because if it is crackling and it's went down past one of the slaps, aka in the epiglottis area, and it's gotten to the lungs, it'll turn into aspiration pneumonia. And then that in itself, as I said, I'm still paying on the $3,000 to keep that young dog alive. He's fine, man. That's what they figured out, man. He's like Velociraptor. So I'm gonna give her 0.2. So per 10 pounds, you need 0.5, which reminds me that of the worm stuff. So I've got to give her 0.2 right here. This is a perfect one too. 0.2 of Albon. Chris said that'll keep her going, but it's something that you got to stack with Clavamox. We'll put her in the chamber. We'll Negro rig it, and we'll show you guys how that looks. And we'll basically drain anything that's in there out. And that in itself is a crazy process when you see it. Frenchie's respiration systems are literally smaller than my pinky, especially at this stage. So you know how you as a kid, you eat some pasta and it'll come out of your nose. And even still as an adult, it could happen. This right here, that milk goes in one, it goes in the mouth, then hits the nose, and then from the nose, it goes down to the lungs. And what happens is in the lungs, it ferments. And when it ferments, this bacteria begins to build up. And as it builds up, it creates, basically it starts surrounding the lungs from my understanding. And next thing you know, the dogs are crackling and they can't really breathe. And they go into a crazy like hacking and weaving and wheezing. And there's nothing you can do unless you have the proper tools. And that's an incubator at times or an oxygen chamber. So I'm gonna build an oxygen chamber tomorrow, to be clear. The pup is definitely fine for now. I'm gonna give her the Albon. I asked Chris what the measurements was, but he knows I know enough to figure it out. So I just didn't bring my plums book. You good, boss? I have my plums book normally, which tells us all the measures. This is Albon. You stack this with Clavamox a lot of times. It can be used on cats and dogs. Eventually I'll have a cat, so we'll be teaching you a lot about that at times. I don't know what I'm gonna name that joker though. That's the thing that really be holding me up. I'll be liking a good name. So what's the name of that booger? So we'll take some of this. There we go. About 0.2. Put it in the back of this little pup's throat. Yeah, it'll smack it. This stuff kind of smells good. The dewormer smells like a root beer float. So it'd be having me want to try it, but thanks, boss. This little porky here. Wheezy F baby. Things God, that thing sure is ugly. I don't know why anybody likes these dogs. They are ugly. Some beady-eyed aliens. Now, that being said, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll show you guys what we got to do to just make sure we're getting the stuff out. If I hear any crackling, there's another device. It's about $3,000. Ruben told me about it. He go, look, we got to do one thing at a time, but we also just want to focus on dogs and we ain't got to deal with them kind of issues. This Frenchie, I told you before, it's an expensive dog to get into. And some of those people, they've got all kinds of technology and machines and stuff to keep these dogs running. It's expensive. Money, how much is an incubator on average? I don't know if you know the price.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can find out for you.
So you can Google how much an incubator is. Then you turn around, something goes wrong, you got to take it to the vet. Then you turn around and start talking about management. And then you start talking about the way people are breeding the dogs are actually inciting more allergies along with liver, kidney, and all kinds of diseases I've been studying in that pet allergies book. But for now, that'll hold the dog over. We've got our little system. So stay tuned, take care of your dogs, people. Keep these things on deck. If I were you and you are a Frenchie breeder, I would keep Albon, Clavamox. I'll show you how to make a homemade oxygen chamber just in case you need it, and how to use these things at some point. But those three things, once you get past the other two killers, which are literally hypothermia and hypoglycemia, the sugars are dropping too low so the dog's body shuts down. Hypothermia, the dog gets too cold. You go, those are normally the number 2 killers of dogs. When you're dealing with a Frenchie, you got breathing, aspiration pneumonia, and some other stuff that can come up. And to be clear, any of that can happen in any breeding. Maya's got more bulldogs, so what Bolo had a more smash face, eating fine. I never heard a crackle. I heard some hacking, and it got ugly real fast. And I repeat, I was not prepared. But that's not the case now, so we'll talk some more, people. That's perfect.